Good morning. It's Monday. This is a video that you're going to need for class tomorrow. That's Tuesday, October the 6th. And so I wanted to go ahead and get that done this morning. Let me move this a little bit more so I have more boardroom. This is kind of a review from last year. I told you last year that we were going to have this again this year, a lot more complicated. It's the binomial theorem. And that's when you're taking a binomial and you're raising it to the nth power. We raise it to the 2 power. We know how to do that. We can just FOIL it. Raise it to the 3rd power cubic. We could use the box method, right? After that, it gets kind of long, right? And so we learned kind of a shorter way to do it. Looks a little complicated, right? If you remember it from last year. Those of you who weren't here last year, you'll want to print the poster and get that all kind of there ready to talk about tomorrow. But we had this wonderful little notation here, and you just put the n, and then underneath that you're going all the way 0 up to the n, whatever that is. So 0, 1, 2, 3, say the n was 4, you would know that there would be enough places until you met the n. So once the n's are the same and match, you know you've got the right amount of spots. And so we learned this last year. I'll kind of throw one up here for you to see. In fact, I'll just go ahead and do the a plus b to the 3rd because that one's really basic and you can see how it works. I like to just start with my a and just go down 1 each. Formula tells us to do that. And then I come to the far side here. The next position here, we'll take our B and we'll be at the end, the highest, and then we'll come backwards and descend like that. And we're gonna have all +1s. We're not gonna worry about -1s, so you won't have to worry about your signs. Those will all be plus. So if you do that, really that lays out how many spots you have. And then you're going to put that lovely little parentheses symbol there. Kind of interesting. And remember I told you the n goes on top. All the way across. And then you start at 0 on the bottom number. And surprise, surprise, they meet. Okay? So there it is, all set up and beautiful. Now you will have coefficients. You will have coefficients right here, usually in the middle, right? On the ends, if you remember last year, those usually came out to be 1s, right? But the coefficients end up in the middle. So we're going to use our little blue formula here. There's that n over k. So our formula is n factorial, k factorial, n minus k factorial, and surprise, surprise, we hope we remember what factorial means on this early Monday morning. And let's review that. Factorial means taking your number n and then multiplying it times n minus 1 times n minus 2 all the way down to 1. Okay. So this first one, we'll take the 3. Let me erase that formula. It's right there for us to see. 3 times 2 times 1 over 0. Factorial. And if you're wondering what 0 factorial is, that's 1. So you really don't even have to write him. And then n minus k. So you take the n and you subtract the k, and that's the factorial that would go here, which is 3 factorial. There's our formula. And of course, 3 factorial, we know is 3 times 2 times 1. So they're all going to cancel. So we know that the first one is always going to be that 1a cubed. Okay? Now we have 3 over 1. So again, we go to our blue formula. 3 factorial over k factorial, that's 1 factorial, which would just be 1, so we don't have to really write that. And then n minus k, 3 minus 1, which is 2 factorial. So I'm going to go ahead and do 2 times 1. On top, we're going to have 3 times 2 times 1. And the 2 is going to cancel, and we'll be left with 3. So there's our coefficient that needs to go here. So instead of having your weird parentheses now, you're going to have a 3. A squared b. Now we do 3 over 2. So 3 factorial over 2 factorial, following my blue formula. 3 n minus k, 3 minus 2 is 1 factorial. So it'd be 3 times 2 over 2. I'm not writing my 1s. My 2 cancels, and again, I'm left with 3. A, b squared. So notice that the middle terms will have a coefficient. Last one, 3 over 3, 3 factorial over 3 factorial times 3 minus 3, using my formula, which is 0. And 0 factorial is 1. So my 3 factorials will just cancel, giving me 1, which we knew that already, that our bookends always came out to be 1. So this is just a basic one. You had this last year on your quiz. Just know that they're not going to be extremely complicated, but your test will be. So we're going to be delving deep into some really tough ones. But I wanted to give you just the basic. If you remember last year, we briefly talked about Pascal's triangle. Remember that? And if you have your Pascal's triangle, which we have one in our green book, you have one in your orange book, you've cut the full, they take it forever out for you, and I'll be talking about that in class. So if you have your book, which you will, you won't even have to do this silly little formula, because you can use Pascal's the triangle, and it works really, really cool to just find your coefficients. And I know you probably don't remember a lot from that last year, but I wanted to just kind of get that seed planted. And so that's the video for tomorrow. Make sure and watch that a couple of times if you can to get yourself familiar with it. I'm not going to go over the poster. I'll have it posted. We're going to dive right in to maybe some harder ones tomorrow or Wednesday if you have me on Wednesday. Okay? That's the binomial theorem. Have a great Monday. We'll see you guys in class.